With the Fool's update coming to Half Sword, I've been seeing and getting a lot of questions on how to beat certain bosses or progress quickly in the Gauntlet, so I thought I'd make a video to help players struggling with the Gauntlet. The purpose of the video is to help inexperienced and or struggling players climb the Gauntlet. This is not a guide for the ultimate challenge, the abyss, or in-depth guides on techniques to use certain weapons. Those will be separate videos as they're intricate and deserve their own attention. This covers the basics to what you need to know to help you climb from a filthy beggar to a noble knight in the Gauntlet. As a disclaimer, while I would consider myself decent at the game, I still have a lot to improve on and learn myself. If you have insights on things I didn't cover or you disagree with something I say, then please mention in the comment section below. Let's get started with some general tips. Duel usually isn't the safest mode. If you fall, you're probably going to die, and you can't take advantage of a distracted opponent like you can in Buhurt or Carnage. It's also less rewarding than any other mode, giving only 1 point compared to every other mode's 2. Slow motion is a good option if you're not very accurate with your strikes. I also would use it to counter your opponent's moves, so to quickly block and then riposte, as it gives you time to react and it gives you time to kind of understand what exactly you're doing while you're swinging. Falling down in this game is usually a death sentence. To try to avoid dying, I would try to hold the surrender button until it's about almost full, and then let go of it to try to get any bully that might be wailing on you while you're down off of you. Because typically they'll de-aggro, but if they don't, then I would suggest surrendering. And when it comes to surrendering, don't be afraid to surrender if, let's say, your arm gets knocked out of the fight by a lucky strike or something of that nature. It's better to lose some points rather than being sent all the way back to the beginning. As for factions, you have the HRE, or Holy Roman Empire, France, England, and Bohemia, or yellow, blue, red, and white. The HRE gives you more stamina, France makes you more nimble, England gives you more durability, and Bohemia makes you kick a little faster. I would highly suggest the HRE, or yellow, because the ability to have more stamina is especially useful if you want to use safer but more heavier weapons, and having extra stamina to be able to use slow motion is a boon in some instances. I wouldn't suggest England's bonus, which makes you more durable, because you're not going to want to get hit in the first place, especially with some of the weapons and techniques that I'm going to suggest to get through the Gauntlet. Being more nimble is nice, but it's not necessarily what you want when you're swinging around like a big Volge or a hefty war staff or Plançon. As for Bohemia's kick benefits, you're typically not going to want to get close with a lot of the good weapons that you're going to want to use. Maybe if you're using a shield, and possibly if you're going to be close up and brawling some bosses with certain weapons. But overall, you usually want to stay as far away from your opponent as possible early on, and later on, moving in armor while swinging a big ass pole hammer is going to be really costly on your stamina. So for each tier, I'm going to go over some preferred modes. I'm only going to describe the modes once, because it's pretty much the same for every other mode. Any preferred weapons or weapon variants, and basics on how to use that weapon on its own, and how to fight the biggest threats of that tier if you're using that said weapon, and how to fight the boss of that tier with those specified weapons. So Beggar is definitely one of the more straightforward tiers. Preferred modes for it are pretty much anything but fist fight. Carnage and Spoilance are overall just going to be more safe than fist fight, unless you are very good with fist fighting, then go ahead by all means. Now, how to fight the Lumbering Oaf, or the boss of the Beggar tier. You're going to want to grab, if you can find a candle stand, that's probably the best thing. If not, then a good second option is the knife. Wait for him to swing, and then go in with the knife, or just whack him with the candle stand. You'll more than likely be able to take him out in a single blow. He's a pretty easy and straightforward boss, especially since they added more weapons to his arena. Your preferred modes for Peasant are going to be duel, just because of how quick these fights are going to go, especially if you're going to use the technique that I'm going to talk about here in a second with the weapon. This is by far the easiest class to get out of if you use the right weapons. Duels for this last easily under a minute, and you can do the duels way faster than a Carnage or a Spoilance due to just how busted the best weapon of this tier is, and that weapon would definitely be the Notched Fork. It is by far the best of its tier and incredibly easy to use. You just hold Alt and left click, run forward and thrust your mouse forward when you're about to ram them with the fork. The only thing you're going to have to worry about are other Notched Forks, since they can stab you back, but in the case you fight them, they usually just don't block overhead swings, which will end up, knocking them out. As for the Peasant Tier boss, it is definitely one of the easier bosses, especially if you have a Notched Fork. You're just going to use the technique that I told you to use for duels. You're going to run, try to stab him, but if you fail to stab him somehow, then just go for overhead swings until you knock him out. Just stay outside of his scythe range. The Commoner tier is when we start getting proper weapons. The preferred modes for the Commoner tier are going to be Carnage and Spoilance. Carnage rewards more points, and you have less to worry about if you simply run into a corner and watch the fight go on and clean up the mess. You'll usually be fighting an injured opponent by the end of it, or if you're lucky, you can catch them while they're aggroed on another willy. The Commoner tier is easily the most dangerous tier because of the proper weapons that everyone has and the fact you're wearing no armor. Spoilance takes away a lot of that danger factor and is pretty much an easy 2 points with very little danger. Usually the worst thing that happens is you get knocked out. This is where weapon variants come into play, as you want the longest blade you can possibly get for the longsword, you'll need it for the boss, and you'll want the reach for fights against other willies, while also having the most power and control to your swings, unlike other weapons in this tier. Your biggest threat are other longsword willies. I suggest using slow motion to have a better idea of what you're doing with each swing, and to be able to thrust while hitting slow-mo in case you need to react to something, and so you can more easily assess what your thrust did. If you penetrate them, keep your sword planted and do as much damage as you can. If this isn't working for you, then use slow motion when attacking so you can assess what your swings are doing better, and so you can react to his swings better. Try to go for hits on vital spots, but arms are just as good, as weakening his arms will make him swing slower and give you a better chance to react. Militia is where the game starts getting a lot easier since you start getting actual proper pole arms. Your preferred modes are going to be Carnage and Bewhurt. Bewhurt is usually a good mode to take, considering the fact that you're able to swing on others that aren't aggroed on you. It's generally a safer mode, but stay aware of what's going on. If you see an ally losing a fight, help them the best you can, and always go for the most dangerous opponent to your allies first, unless the opportunity to kill another enemy willy presents itself. The weapon you're going to want to have the best advantage over other willies and the militia boss is the billhook. It is easily the best weapon for this tier and the only one with as much reach as it has, and it delivers a good amount of force to your target as well. The variant doesn't matter as much, but I would go with the longest shaft possible purely for reach. As for your biggest threats, other billhooks will be what kills you 99% of the time that you do manage to die. When fighting them, go for quick swings to the neck or arms and you'll most likely kill them. As for everything else, do not let them get close. Your shaft can knock people out, but your weapon is not nearly as effective, and you put yourself at the disadvantage by having both a harder to wield weapon and being at close range to where you can get hit by the other willy. The point of the billhook is to mitigate risk while still being able to fight effectively, hence why this is such a good take for Bewhurt fights. This is an easy boss fight if you have a long billhook. With your billhook, you'll be able to outrange the boss if you make swings just outside of his range, and you usually want to first aim for the legs to either start slowing him down or possibly take one off if you land a good enough hit. I would suggest swing with an alternate grip since his left, your right, is the least defended side of his. The soldiers' preferred modes are Carnage and Bewhurt. The variant doesn't matter, but the Plançon, the spiky spear, is the best choice for this tier, mostly due to the boss. It's a night killer, which makes it good for Bewhurt mode, and it outranges a good amount of weapons you'll see in this tier. The most dangerous opponents are other Plançons. You'll usually want to make a thrust or step into their range to make a swing for their head. Polearms are also a little threatening, but it's mostly just about closing distance. Overall, a simple and devastating weapon to use. It's easily one of the best weapons in the game due to how effective yet straightforward it is. This boss fight is trivialized by the fact you have a weapon meant to kill armored willies and the weapon that the boss uses. Use your alt grip and be prepared to block an incoming swing as you run to close distance on the halberdier. After you get close, an alt grip swing to the face is usually enough to instantly kill the halberdier. The Veteran's definitely a fun one, especially for the preferred weapon, but for preferred modes, Carnage and Bewhurt are really going to be your go-tos. Similar to the billhook, but far better, the Volge, Bardachet, or Halberd, whatever you want to call it, is a weapon that stays with me even in the later tiers of Abyss because of just how powerful yet relatively safe the weapon is. Your range is only contested by other Volges or billhooks, and the Volge has an incredible amount of slashing and bashing force. The best variant to take is not the short, thrust-oriented Volge, but the longer and less pointed variant due to the reach and the fact the longer shaft is better at snowballing force to knock out your opponents. The most threatening things in this tier are other Volges or billhooks because of their reach, which is simple to deal with. You want to get the first swing in around the head or neck and aggressively follow up if you land a good shot. If not, then remain just outside of their range until you could swing again. As a general rule though, you don't want willies getting too close. Just like the billhook, the Volge is at a heavy disadvantage once the range is closed in and you're left with a weirdly proportioned stick to defend yourself with. Be deliberate with your swings and step back if you're not already reared back for another swing. The other willy is waiting for you to not be able to do anything as you take a couple of seconds to rear your Volge back again. As for the veteran boss, due to his little reach, you're pretty much just going to stay at a distance and take swings at his incredibly exposed head.
Let reason rule.
For Man-at-Arms, your preferred modes are going to be Carnage, Bewhurt, and Brave Stand. Brave Stand is a good mode if you're confident with how your weapon works, and especially if that weapon is bladed. A poleaxe and greatsword are devastating at this tier. I wouldn't do Brave Stand if you aren't confident about your weapon or you think your armor setup is too exposed. And if you fall, then be prepared to either give up or be beaten to a pulp. The worst thing you can do is fall in a Brave Stand. The biggest threats to you will be the Volge, other polearms, and especially the Plançon. If you have an opportunity to kill a Plançon willy, then take it by all means. This is the first tier where you get a taste of what being a knight is like in terms of fully armored combat. Swords, while still good, are not nearly as dangerous as when you had only a helmet, and you're able to get closer while being at significantly less danger of dying due to your armor. But this also goes for your opponents as well. The best way to threaten even the most protected knights is by wielding a polearm. I prefer the pole hammer, but the pole axe is a little easier to use and you can get much better effects if you hit an exposed part of the body. The pole axe is also a better weapon for brave stand because it's bladed. The biggest upside of the pole hammer is that it can exact more force and it can even one-hit knock out a knight if you connect a good swing. As for variants, there are many, but it's down to preference. I usually like a spike on the back of my haft for reaching around breastplates and to make my jabs even more dangerous, and the Lucrine variant of hammer due to its ability to catch armor better while also doing piercing damage to exposed parts of the other wielding. The biggest threat to you is going to be other pole arms and especially pole hammers because of their ability to knock you out in a single swing and the fact it's really easy to get stabbed in a gap with one. If you see one, try to take care of them as quickly as possible with a quick swing to the head or neck. As for others, overhead swings are most effective but easily blocked. You can also jab someone in the armpit if you rear your swing back all the way and swing the weapon up and into them. This swing thrust method is really useful against shields if you use it in the left-handed grip because they can't block it with their shield. The man-at-arms boss can be a bit of a challenge if you aren't too good with blocking, but the polearm is one of the best things you can use to block his swings. What you're going to do is close distance while alt-gripping to block any incoming swings to get past his hammer. From there, you can either try and swing from right to left and stab him in the armpit, or make a swing for his head, but particularly his exposed face. You do not want him to get too far from you, and you have to stay on him or he will knock you out if he can range you with his polehammer.
Now, sir!
The knight is very similar to man-at-arms. Preferred modes are going to be Bewhurt, Carnage, and Brave Stand. The best weapon by far for this tier is the pole hammer. The pole axe is less effective due to it doing less impact damage than the pole hammer. If you can get a Lucerne pole hammer, then you'll be set to knock out even the Black Knight. A rear spike is nice, and an armat is better than the Saleh and Bavor combo because of the massive weak spot in the back of the neck, but these two things are preference and usually not worth re-rolling your willy 50 times for. As for usage and biggest threats, it's the same as man-at-arms. You just have less opportunities to make good stabs, so you'll usually want to just go for swings at the head. The Black Knight is the hardest boss fight outside of the Baron Ultimate Challenge due to his reach, the power of his weapon, and the shield he possesses. Don't be afraid to try and fake surrender to him if he knocks you down, as you'll probably die if you don't. As for actually fighting him, the polehammer is by far the best weapon to use against the Black Knight due to its reach and the amount of force you can hit him with when wielding it. What you want to do is stay outside of his range and only go in when either he is at the end of a swing or he isn't really ready to swing. If he has a swing reared back, then try to bait it out. Once you're in range to hit him, you're going to take only 1 or 2 swings maximum at his head before backing off. If you get a good hit, then don't be afraid to push your advantage and get more swings off to knock him over. Your greatest opportunity arises once you stagger him. If he isn't dead, then once he's down, continue to smash his head until he dies.
Consider, ere the battalion joineth the crossing of Mother Osiris.
I hope this helps you get through Gauntlet easier if at all. If you have some advice that I didn't cover that you would like to, then by all means leave it in the comments section below. If you want more in-depth advice on how to use certain weapons, then stay tuned as I have content planned for just that. I hope you can take something from this video and use it to your advantage in the courtyard. This has been Iberian Knight, and good luck running the Gauntlet.